Hi, Carl Deleu here. Thank you for watching this fantastic chat with Bruce Knotts on light surfers. Um, wow, what can I say about Bruce? I just wrote a few things down from the LinkedIn. Bruce is in New York. Um, all his life has been a human rights advocate, the US State Department, diplomatic assignment worldwide. Currently, director a Unitarian Universalist United Nations office. We're going to come back to that if I've got that right. Providing human rights advocacy, co-chair United Nations Non-Governmental Organizations Committee on Human Rights, chair of the NGO on Disarmament, Peace and Security, obviously a massive job, member of NGO UN Committee on Sustainable Development, trustee parliament of the world religions. This is actually how I bumped into Bruce. 5 languages. I'm dyslexic. I can't even write Afrikaans anymore. And I went to Afrikaans university and schools. But so English, German, Greek, Spanish, and then Urdan and no, maybe it's 6 languages, and then Mashriq Arabic. Is it 6 languages then, Bruce?
Yeah, I've studied them. I can't say I'm fluent. And Urdu, which is spoken in India and Pakistan.
And Indian and Pakistan, that's right. Strong knowledge of African, Arab, East and South Asian culture. And I see at New York University, you started a course there for refugees and migration, but a lot more. This is just a very quick summary. And then before I just discuss the topic, I'm really interested in the Unitarian Universal Association. Why I'm interested is because I just see it's all about the truth. And that is really what my main aim is in life. And I believe that is going to create world peace. But I know it's linked liberal religion with no creed, a Jewish Christian roof, past. But just sort of briefly, how can you summarize the religion?
So if you know about Christian history, you know that in most cases, churches are splitting apart. I think I just read something this morning that the Methodist Church is splitting into the Global Methodists and the United Methodists, predominantly over LGBT issues. These are two denominations that joined in 1961. So not splitting, but joining. So they were the Unitarians and the Universalists. Both of these denominations would be considered heretics by most mainline Christian organizations. The Unitarians are Unitarians because we're not Trinitarians. So we never really bought on to the idea of the Trinity. And if you go back into Christian history, look at Arius of Alexandria and others, there was always a strain within Christianity that did not see that Jesus was God, co-equal, co-created with God from the beginning. Arius made the comment that if Jesus was created at the same time God was there, then Jesus could not be the Son of God. He would have to be the brother of God. So there's always been this Unitarian strain in Christianity. The Universalists had the idea that universally, God was so loving and kind that he couldn't have people in hellfire and brimstone forever and ever and ever and ever. That sooner or later, no matter where you might go to begin with, you would wind up being in with God. And so the joke I like to tell is that the Unitarians feel that we're too good to go to hell, and the Universalists feel that God is too good to send us to hell. So based on that agreement that we're not going to hell, we joined in 1961. Of course, that's really just a joke. There was a lot more to it than that. But we've turned into a very liberal, progressive faith. And we have a lot of people in our community that have dual allegiances. So Jewish Unitarian Universalists, Buddhist Unitarian Universalists, Muslim Unitarian Universalists. So they may have another faith belief. We don't believe in excommunicating anybody. We want everybody to take a spiritual journey, but it is up to them what they believe about God or heaven or hell or anything else. We don't tell people what to believe, but we are a community of faith, and we promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and we believe in the interdependent web of life of which we are all a part. And that's in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. Okay, so the topic we're discussing today is, please check out my documentary, Creator versus God. It's only 10 minutes long. And basically, from 7 years of research, going out 50 affirmations a day, asking the Creating Universe to send the right information to me, using my right brain, dyslexic brain, starting from a blank slate, and being really down and humbled. So I only found out later on from the Kabbalists, if you're really down and out, they pray to be down and out, because that's when you can connect to the Creator. But what I found out is, and I believe it is the truth, is that Creator is string, is the string theory. And we're all interconnected. The strings just vibrate at different frequencies. And on the other side, you've got, and that's Allah in the Quran. And on the other side, you've got God. And the gods with the Pleiadians, that's our forefathers. They used to come to Earth on fancy, what I call fancy helicopters, UFOs, and they left us be about 8,000 years before Christ, because whenever they came to Earth, we just wanted to take that technology. And one of the Kabbalistic secrets is you've got to earn your own way. And the God of the Old Testament at a particular time is the God that's in charge of the Pleiadians, and currently it's Elohim. So that's just a brief explanation. But just before we get into that, I bumped into Bruce on the Parliament of World Religions, and I see that you, and as mentioned, you're on the committee, you're a trustee on that. I'm trying to convince a few people to have a. I see your next conference in Chicago 2023, but I'm trying to, and I've sort of left it for today as well to discuss, try and convince via yourself and maybe a few other people that I'm in contact with to have a small gathering in Kashmir. And that's linked to my chat, Jesus in India, because I believe that Jesus, funny enough, is the focal point for the 5 main religions that make up 80% of humanity. I know that doesn't include what the religion that we talk, your religion today. But I saw in 2017, Dr. Hilal Ahmad. He's a secretary at the University of Kashmir. He's a doctorate of psychology. And I've asked him now if Kashmir University can give us a little space for free. We've got Tarat Roy. He's based in Kushinagar, where Buddha passed away. And he's now looking into a little bit of funding for us for that. So I've still got this dream of having what I call the One Souls event, of getting just even a handful of people to Kashmir. Any thoughts on that?
Well, getting a handful of people to Kashmir should be quite doable. Our convenings usually have something in the order of several thousand people, and that's certainly what we're expecting in Chicago. And that is pretty well nailed down. These convenings are negotiated and planned years in advance. Chicago's been on our docket for quite some time, and we've talked to the city of Chicago and on and on. The one before that was in Toronto, and we have had convenings in Barcelona and South Africa and other places around the world. That's, meeting in Kashmir, I would obviously have to know much more. Having some kind of convening in India is something we have talked about, and we certainly have several people on our board with an Indian background, including our chair, Nitin Ajmera, who's a Jain. So, again, this would have to be something that we would go into with discernment, and it would take quite some time to organize something like that. It's not something that we would do, in a snap judgment kind of way.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. On our chat on LinkedIn, you mentioned you were once on a flight to West Africa with a Muslim Sufi, and that he gave you what his view was what the creator is. Is it possible just to sort of say what you said to me on LinkedIn?
Sure. Yeah, I was really impressed with this. And, we all believe what we believe, and we're all searching for the truth. And this seemed to make a lot of sense to me. And it's something that I still sort of hold on to today. And he mentioned the very strong position of Muslims of the oneness of God, which again is something I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Unitarianism, that God is not a divided entity, but is one unified entity. And he said, that many Muslims believe there is the creator and there is creation. And he said, I believe that the creator and creation are one. And I really like that idea. I resonate with that idea. And when you think about it, we are all created and we all create. We create ideas, we build things, we create, and we are also created. And so this idea of the creator and creation being one entity, all of us connected. If you look at other faith traditions, such as the Quakers said there is the divine spark in all of us. Jesus said in the Bible, he said, the kingdom of God is within you. And so there are all sorts of religious ideas that indicate that the divine spark, the divinity, is not something up in the sky far, far away, but it's right with us, around us, in everything that we touch. So, there are different ways of looking at that. This idea that this Sufi Muslim gave me might seem very radical for some, but the idea of there being divinity in all of creation, in us and in everything, is not a new idea, and it occurs in a lot of sacred scripture.
Yeah, I sat in January 2011 at an event of a guy called John DiMartini, Dr. John DiMartini, Master Planning for Life, with 200 people in Houston, Texas, planning your life, 2,000 questions. And spiritually, what came through to me is that I need to uncover the mystery of the universe and thereafter tell the world. And so when I bumped into the string theory, I immediately knew that the string theory and the God particle they found in CERN, which should not be called the God particle, it should be called a creator particle. It must be one and the same. Fortunately, in the interim, so after January 2011, I was taught at the College of Psychic Studies in London how to communicate with the spirit world. And because I can think big, I can communicate by automatic writing with the creator. Most mediums speak to loved ones, which I see as the lower form of mediumship. The middle one is the angelic entities, which is very powerful, that I used actually to fix myself. In fact, that's how I got involved in the College of Psychic Studies. But then when I did this automatic course, I spoke to the creator. And then I just had to ask the creator, it's the quality of the question is everything. Newton saw the apple falling, and that was the question. Einstein dreamt of the relativity theory and then had to prove it. So I just asked a very simple question about automatic writing. Is the string theory the same as the creator particle they found in CERN? And the answer was yes. And so, I certainly believe that what the Sufi gentleman on the flight said to you is that we're all omnipresent, we're all connected. And that's why through group intention, and also individuals, if they've got a strong intention, can change the world via the butterfly effect, because we're all interconnected. It's all sort of makes sense. The other thing that I also find is that the term God, and I'm just taking it out of what you said before I forget, is completely incorrectly used. Most people say God, but they actually mean creator, because God is an actual individual, very like a million years more advanced than us, and quite a powerful individual, but they actually mean creator. And the biggest thing I find that people always say that God, okay, they mean creator. We pray to God and God's not helping us. But the most amazing thing that the creator gave us is free will. Like the Ukrainians now are fighting for free will, in effect, and the lightness. And it's up to us as humanity, and I'm just thinking about your humanitarian side, to make the world a better place. Because creation is us. We are the computers, the angels are the servers, and creation is the mainframe computer. And it's up to us to make the world a better place. What do you think of that?
I think there's some very good ideas there. And one of the things that I really enjoy being a trustee of the Parliament of the World's Religions, and working also for Religions for Peace and many interfaith organizations, is that the more that I learn about what people believe and how they dedicate their lives, I learned something. And certainly Unitarian Universalism is very open to different ideas and respectful of people's points of view and beliefs. I tend not to want to jump to any particular conclusion and say this is absolutely right and there's no other answer possible. I tend to look at all of the different possibilities and see what I can learn from all of them. So I'm finding your ideas intriguing, but I'm not sure I'm ready to join your church, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, well, I certainly have got no church. I think there's enough churches. My main view is the same as from your religion, is that the truth will set us free. And I believe once the truth comes out in the five main religions, I only study the five main religions because how long is a piece of string? And 5 of my 21 chapters in my book are on the five main religions. But because the five main religions make up 80% of humanity, I believe once the truth comes out, the five main religions will relax, and that will be the start of world peace. But it's not, I come from Pretoria, South Africa, a really staunch Lutheran kind of church. And I understand it's very difficult to get people to change their perception, but it's not. So in Jesus, in India, the Muslims, the Talmud of Shimon says Jesus didn't die on the cross. So this is a big, I've got friends in Africa saying to me, how can you say this? It's a big thing, but it's not getting Christians to believe in that, but it's just getting Christians to open their minds to the idea that perhaps it is true. Or there might be the possibility of it being true. Because once that can happen, then we can pull the five major religions together, and then the other religions will follow. Because I see your religion not really as a religion. What I've just seen, what I've just heard, it's the truth. It's world peace. It's the same. Your religion is what I've set out to do in my lifetime. It's the same thing. It's world peace is the truth.
There's not much to argue with what you've just said. I would just point out that, again, in my experience working in interfaith work, that, you know, we work with Jews and Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists and Sikhs and, you know, pretty much every religion you can think of, Hindus and on and on and on, Jains. And our work together is very harmonious and very respectful and very collegial. If you look at probably the worst fights there are in religion, it's not so much one religion fighting another religion. It's mostly fights within a religion. And I just said at the beginning of this conversation that the Methodist Church has just split up into a global church that wants to maintain more conservative values, and the United Church, United Methodist Church, that wants to have more liberal values, particularly in the areas of sexual orientation and gender identity. So they're splitting over that. In Islam, there are, you know, huge differences between more progressive Muslims and less progressive Muslims. Same in the Jewish world, Christianity. All of these religions have much more fierce divides, I would say, within their own polity than there are one polity against another. And again, you know, there have, of course, been historical terrible wars between Muslims and Christians, and you might argue that Jews and Muslims are at war in Palestine and Israel. So there are those conflicts continue to exist, but from my perspective, the biggest conflicts seem to be within religious traditions, and they tend to be over, I would say, fairly trivial matters, and they're not matters of belief. They're more matters of social policy and who you want to accept and who you don't want to accept. I think many of our religions here in the United States are going through a great deal of discernment about the role of religion in racism. And there's a lot of evidence that religion has fostered racism. And so a lot of religions are trying to expunge that. The other thing that you've seen in Canada particularly, but also here in the United States, is the terrible things that religion has done to Indigenous peoples with the residential schools and so forth. And there are, again, just this morning, I read that the Anglican Church in Canada is apologizing for their role in these residential schools, which took children away from their parents, forbade them from speaking their own native languages, and just really horrible things. And a lot of these children died. So it's those kind of questions of how we treat people that seems to be more contentious than theological arguments. Theological arguments kind of don't seem to matter as much as these arguments, but how do we treat people of color? How do we treat Indigenous peoples? How do we treat LGBT people? And what about women? What is women? What is the role of women in religion? And again, the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association is our first elected woman president. Over half of our clergy are women. So we definitely believe in absolute equality, equity of women everywhere, including in the leadership of our denomination. I would like to see that in all religious traditions, but we know that that's a difficult lift for many religious traditions to give equality for women in the leadership of their faith. And I think that's essential.
Yeah, I once went on Wikipedia. I forget if they said there's 1,000 different Christian churches, and then another site said 20,000. You get all these splinter groups. And actually, Muslims have done quite well. They've only got 73 different Muslim sects. And for listeners that don't necessarily know that, Sunni and Shia is only 2 of the 73. And they're infighting. And it's all about, if you take Islam, as soon as Prophet Muhammad passed away, people power came. And that's why you got Sunni and Shia. So they were fighting about who's sort of in charge and interpretation of what Prophet Muhammad said. thank you for our chat. I've got one final question, which is the $1 million question. And before I ask it, I just want to say it's really a privilege to have you. I'm getting influential people on my show. I believe in less is more, and a couple of secret. And it's a really privilege to have you on today. So the $1 million question is, do you think world peace is possible in our lifetime?
The quick answer, I would say, is no. I see us descending into far more conflict. There was a great deal of hope after the Second World War. The United Nations was formed. We thought we had a world liberal order, a rules-based liberal order that would guarantee relative peace. Yes, there would be conflicts, but there wouldn't be anything that threatened the peace of the world. And I think we're in very dangerous territory at the moment. Vladimir Putin is talking about if this war continues, that means war with NATO as well. That means a world war. He has also threatened to use nuclear weapons. You've got Kim Jong-un in North Korea also threatening first strike nuclear weapons. He says if he feels threatened, that he will use nuclear weapons first. He will initiate that. I have talked to this administration and asked that the United States adopt a no first use policy. We don't have that here in the United States. Russia doesn't have it. So there's not even a commitment not to use nuclear weapons first. You know, if you need to retaliate, okay, I guess I'm not even sure about that. But no, I see us descending into a great deal more conflict. We need to work really hard to maintain, and we can't maintain what we don't have. We don't have peace. So we can't maintain peace. We need to restore peace and make peace because we're not in a good place right now. And no, I don't see peace in our lifetime.
Well, thank you for the straight answer. I think Ukraine now is speeding up world peace, yin and yang, the darkness, Putin, the light, free speech, free will. So I hope that you're wrong, but time will tell. And once again, Bruce, thank you for your time. Much appreciated.